So I'm having one of those days where everything is a distraction. My phone is ringing all the time. I have 100 emails to respond to, and everybody is just getting hold of my attention from all directions. My thoughts are racing. Now, I want to know how to control my thoughts. How do I do it? That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Warrior. I'm a neurologist, and in today's video, we're talking about how you can control your thoughts using 3 step-by-step methods. If you haven't subscribed yet, do so. Hi everyone, quick announcement. I will be conducting a health workshop on the 8th of November 2024, where I will be teaching you everything you need to know about keeping your brain and your body healthy. I'll be taking you through what tests you need to do, how to read your own blood reports, and if there is anyone in your family above the age of 50, what are some things you specially need to keep in mind? I hope to see all of you there. And if you're watching this after the 8th of November, check the description for details of my future workshops. Now back to the video. Now, every thought that you get comes from our brain spotting a problem somewhere. If you remember, life has evolved in this world in the middle of a lot of dangers. So our brain is evolved to constantly spot threats everywhere. It always looks for danger. Every time you get a thought, our brain is trying to solve a problem that it has spotted. Now, that problem could be on the outside, like an Instagram notification or your phone ringing or an email pop up, or that problem could be inside, like a memory or an emotion or a thought. Now, this is where it gets tricky because thoughts can lead to thoughts, and that is how you go into a spiral of thinking. Now, thinking in itself is not a bad thing. After all, thinking deeply about something is exactly how so many brilliant people around the world have solved so many problems. So, what is the difference between deep thinking and overthinking? I'm sure Einstein must have thought very deeply to solve the relativity equations. And Thomas Edison famously required hundreds of attempts before he could perfect the light bulb design. Now, from these two examples of deep thinking, a pattern comes out. Whenever somebody is thinking deeply about a problem, they are looking at a problem until some solution emerges. They try out the solution, and if it fails, they go back to the drawing board and they start thinking again. This is the pattern of deep thinking, which is actually a thought action loop. Anyone who's thinking deeply always integrates action in their thought pattern. Compare this with overthinking, which is only thought followed by thought and no action. In other words, people don't want to try out if their thought is correct or not. They don't want to check if their hypothesis will work. All they want to do is to keep thinking about what will happen, what will not, and so they get stuck in a thought loop that does not have any action. Now, what is the main drawback of overthinking? Our brain requires time to solve a problem. So, let's say we pick up a problem like a Rubik's Cube. The second you spot the problem, you will not be able to solve it. Our brain requires some time to observe the patterns to see where each piece will go, and then and only then will the solution come out. And between finding a problem and solving it, there will be many wrong twists and turns. But if you do not give your brain time to solve that problem and instead keep adding more and more different problems for the brain to solve, none of those problems will get solved because of a matter of time. And this is why overthinking leads to such a negative loop, because not only do you not solve one problem, you are instead adding on more problems that the brain cannot solve. And this leads to a state of stress. In the brain, in the limbic system, is an area called amygdala, which has the job of spotting stress. And the more problems you give the brain to solve, the more anxious the brain becomes. Now, ironically, the more anxious your brain becomes, the more problems it spots. So you can see how overthinking is such a negative spiral, because more thoughts leads to anxiety, and anxiety leads to more thoughts. So how do you control your thoughts? There are 3 easy steps. Wait, let me get my whiteboard. The most important thing that you have to remember is that there is a thought action loop. And so in order for you to control your thoughts, there are 3 things for you to do. Number 1, decrease stimulation. Now, if there is flooding in your room, the first thing that you would do is to find out where is the leak coming from and stopping that, right? Just like that, if you are having a problem of too many thoughts, the first thing you need to do is to stop the stimulation from coming in, detach from social media, disconnect from unwanted stimulation for a while until you figure out what to do with all the thoughts you already have. Number 2, reduce sympathetic activity. Now, sympathetic activity is what your body is going through when it's in a fight and flight situation. Now, the way to do this is by two important steps. Number one, deep breathing. Just by deep breathing, which is inhaling and exhaling for around 5 seconds each, will push your body from sympathetic to parasympathetic, and that will allow your thoughts to calm down and slow down. The other thing that puts your body into parasympathetic is muscle movement. So, both in the forms of muscle stretching and in the form of light walking or exercise are all good ways of putting your body away from a sympathetic state. And finally, the third is increased action. So, whatever are the thoughts that are going on, if you write them down and write an action that you can do in front of each one, and carrying out those actions, that inherently reduces the number of active thoughts that you have because they will now fit into the thought action loop. Try out these three steps, let me know how they work for you, and any other questions you have, drop down in the comments below.